Good afternoon. We are back here with you on the Relationship and Marriage Hour. And we are so happy we're coming to you live from sunny Bahamas. And I understand it's pretty cold there in Canada right now. When you get tired of the cold, we want to invite you, our listeners, to join us here in the Bahamas where it's nice and sunny. This afternoon, we are happy to have our guests with us, Bishop Eric and Nurse Rosemary Josey. They have been married for quite some time, and we find that as couple spend time together, it seems as though they not only look alike, but almost they seem to think alike and one another. And we are going to find out this afternoon why this couple would be thinking together. Is it because of open communication, or is it because of that strong emotional connection? We will find out this afternoon what is it that causes a couple to think alike and almost speak alike, and they call it twin telepathy, where you before you can finish a conversation, your spouse take it away because they know what you're saying, they know what you're thinking. And Dr. will join us momentarily, but we will start out with our guests. And we are just going to ask them to share a little about themselves, telling us how long they've been married. And as we get deeper in the conversation, we will find out from them why they think alike. Is it because open communication? Is it because of strong emotional connection? And that comes with time. You have people married for 50 and all of those years, Rosemary, and you can almost tell what the other person is thinking. You put them in two different rooms and you ask the question, they can tell, and you would find they're thinking alike. So we're happy to have you with us this afternoon, and we want you to just say hi to our guests and just say a little about yourself as we get started.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Josey, and as one of our hosts mentioned, we are from the Bahamas. Very nice and comfortable temperature conditions. But in reference to my wife and I, we've been married for 38 years now. We've been together for about 41 years. Uh, but God has
More
been
than
good.
that.
Yes, possibly more. Yeah. But we thank God. God has been faithful to us in keeping us together. And of course, we will continue to share in this conversation as we go along. And as questions would come about, we would be more than pleased to address whatever concerns you might have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I am Rosemarie Josey. I've been married to this fine gentleman for 38 years, and he is the love of my life. I am a nurse by profession. I've been in nursing now for this year would make me 42 years as a nurse. And this is one profession that I love because I always refer to as it's a calling on my life. So it's a career and it is really a calling because we are God's angels here on earth. And that's how I consider myself.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So there you have it. That's our guest for the afternoon. And I am excited because I believe we're going to have a good time with this couple. Being together for more than 41 years, that's no short period of time. And I almost tempted to ask, what is it that kept you together for all those years, 41 years? And what is it? Is all love kept you such a long time and still going strong, I guess?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if it's all love, but I could almost say for certain it's my wife's dedication to putting up with me in all of my ups and downs. And um, In essence, actually, it is love, similar to the love that God has for us in our shortcomings, in our failures, and whatever concerns we might have. He continues to love us and look beyond our faults. It's a dedication to put up with whatever little shortcomings and failures I might have, and that keeps us going.
You know, I don't know if that, but I love what you just said, Bishop. You said she is committed to you and is putting up, enduring your shortcomings. In our day and time, in this society, people do not have to endure one another's shortcomings. Tell us how, Rosemary, how is it that you put up with it? Now, let me say this terminology is put up, meaning that we are enduring. Tell us, how did you deal with it? I want you to help some of our listeners, because usually, if you have a shortcoming, people will endure that for a while. After, they get tired of it, and they do not want to put up with it. Tell us how you do it.
When we took our vows on the 14th of February in 1987 at the Grove Temple, and we made that vow, we stand before God and we stand before man as our witness. And we made a commitment to one another to love, to honor, to cherish, and to obey. And they are the key words right there. We recognize that it wouldn't have been easy because we each would have faced challenges. And then you get a time when it's a getting to know you period. My husband come from a large family. My family is pretty small in comparison. And one of the things we made a commitment to was during our term, people could call it term of engagement, and that's a time when you get to know one another. We made a commitment that we would remain true to ourselves, to each other, and we would allow nobody, mother, daddy, sister, brother, to get in the middle of our affairs. Because when you made that commitment and you become one, the Bible tells us leave and cleave. And that is two very powerful words, leave and cleave. And once we made that commitment, and when he said the two shall become one flesh, and that's what we became, and we made that commitment to one another that we would allow nobody and we would bring nobody in our marriage because what you give to the world, you can't take back. And I came from the Roman Catholic background, and one of the commitments as well too is that once we remain committed and faithful to one another, God will see us through. And He was the center of our lives from then until now. We don't bring our children into our marriage. We don't bring no mother in law, no sister in law, no friends, no family into our marriage. If we have a problem, the person who bring us together, that's the pastor, the bishop, that's who we go to, the church, you know. And once we made that commitment with one
I love
another,
what you
we
just said. I love that.
yes.
I wonder if our audience are listening. She does not take it to anyone. The children is not aware of it. Her best friend is not aware of what's going on. Mother, father, sister, no one. That is powerful, Rosemary, because usually when people have problems, they try to pull in different friends and what do you think and how do you think I should handle this? You said that there's only one person, the one and only, and that's who you may go to. That is powerful. And there's something you said as well. For 41 years, we interviewed a younger couple the other day, and what you're saying now, you did 41 years ago, they are now doing it in this time. So it proves to me that you're still relevant. That we may increase in years, but there's still relevancy because you you made a commitment that you will not allow anyone to break you apart or separate you. That is powerful. And that was set before you even got married. I love that. I love that. And I hope that our audience is really listening to hear that yes, a marriage after 41 years can still make it. Now, give or take, Rosemary, the vows, some people write their own vows. And they may say, well, we won't now. You came under the traditional vows, which is good. But how do you think persons who may have created their own vows, how do you think they can now capture whenever there is a problem in the marriage? Because I imagine I heard one young guy said when he got married, when the pastor said for better or for worse, richer or poorer, he said for better and for richer, and he eliminated the poor and the worse. How do you think couples that write their vow can stand in situations that can cause a breakup in the relationship when they do not have that traditional vow? Do you think that the vow that they made is sufficient to keep them?
I because I believe that when couples sometimes make up their own vows, they're not guided by God's principles. They allow their own
Feelings.
feelings to get in the midst of it, because they got to recognize it's not going to be rosy all the time. Um, you might just say, okay, you want to get everybody love to head a richer. They don't want to head a poorer. They don't want to head in sickness. They want to. They didn't. You're not going to be healthy all the time. Things happen,
That's right.
and that is why you made that commitment before God and mouth, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. That's serious. And right there and then are the key words that you recognize that you're not going to always have the good times, but it's how you deal with it. Because sometimes people with marriage for the body figure, everybody want to get rich quick. And when those things roll away and pass away, you have no substance to stand on, because you're clinging to things,
Hmm.
and that's not important. And it brings you back to another principle too. When people put things before what is very important, you miss out on so much more. Even children, family is sacrificing because I want the 1.25 child or something like that, because I want to give them what my parents. Because they have a values.
Hmm.
We get caught up in the world system, and that's where we go wrong.
Hmm.
Well, she said that it wouldn't be rosy all the time, but for me, it will always be rosy, only rosy.
I like that.
Yeah, but persons who make up their vows, a lot of time, even in their plan, they plan with limitations, and even their vows depicts that we would, if in the event they go into even marriage and in creating their vows, even going into marriage, and for some of them, even their premarital counseling, they go into it with a view that, okay, if this doesn't happen, if it doesn't work, then they have some plan B. But
Mm,
we don't have a plan B, and we didn't have a plan B. We don't have one now, and I think that's what happens with a lot of the younger marriages now. They go in with the view that, okay, if it doesn't work, and many times you start to think, if it doesn't work, then you leave a loophole
yes,
when it
yes.
when it's not working.
Wow. I love the fact you didn't have a plan B. So you went into that relationship to win it.
Yeah,
You were in it to win it. So there was no other option.
no, no.
I love that. Um, what do you say to people, Bishop Eric, that go into relationship with a plan B? If this doesn't work, I'm going out. I'm coming out. Could it be the reason why we see so many divorces because they went in with a plan B?
Exactly. That is correct, Pastor Marie. Because they, even going in, they didn't go in and, well, quote unquote, they didn't go in whole hog.
Mm,
They didn't jump in feet first. They went in, with, and I don't want to go as far as to say with hopes that it would fail, but they're going um, in the event it doesn't work. You know, you find even I know you know it because of your interactions and your training. You've encountered this going places with these premarital
mm,
agreements. Okay, we go, and I don't think when you need some premarital agreement, that if it doesn't work, you don't get the what, the 50% or the half. You don't get the half that that you going in, and as a man thinking in his heart, because then your perception,
mhm.
even if whenever you start to think, and based on your question, whenever you start to think that if it doesn't work, if you're looking for a loophole to get out, and that's my
Yes,
concept on that.
yes, yes, and that is so true. That means if I go get married now, they tell the guy, look here, um, not to my husband, somebody else. We need a prenuptial agreement.
Hmm.
You're not getting half of my estate if we break up next year. So it's like some people would call it wisdom doing that, but if you are really in love with this person, that's a tough one, Bishop. That's a tough one because it depends on what you have. Now, if you're going in a relationship and you're just working together to acquire things, no one has to worry about it. But if I'm coming in a relationship with a $50 million, you know, if I'm coming in with something, I would have to protect So I wonder about that because people can put on a good show and make you believe they love you, sign that paper, and then you see the real you. So I could understand some prenuptial agreement. I could understand that. But when you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. Meaning that we starting out with working together to acquire. So we acquire everything together. So we don't have that headache. Compared to those who have the riches and everything. But I still like what you said, the fact that if you're going in because you love a person, you do not have to worry about or share prenuptial agreements, right? You may lose, but if anything changes, but it may work, and you don't have to worry about it. But sad to say, in this time, this day and time, people tend to want to have some kind of comfort. But that's another story for another day. But tell us, Rosemary and Bishop, how is it that you know that you are thinking alike, or do you find yourself thinking alike on a daily basis? You know, the children come home and they ask for something, Rosie, you're home, and the same thing you tell them, daddy comes home and he tells them the same thing. You know, it's like you both had a conversation, and you can't tell the children you all didn't have a conversation, but you're both now thinking alike. And we call it also emphatic mimicry. You
Hmm.
thinking like him, he thinking like you. Tell us how you see this playing out in your relationship.
Well, it does happen, and it is happening, but I think it is developed over time. You know,
Hmm.
you knowing you get to know your spouse, you get to know their thoughts, their mannerisms, and it wears on you. She somehow she becomes so much a part of me, and I'm hoping I become a part of her to the degree, but we find exactly, and like you mentioned, I don't know the clinical word, but you mentioned it more than once. The title for it,
Hmm.
but how it is developed over time in terms of just being with each other, being around each other. You almost know what they gonna do, and it happens. It becomes engraved in us.
Hmm.
I have to smile too, Marie, because I mean it is so true. Because there are certain things, even if you ask the children, they'll say, "Well, daddy can say go to mommy," and we of like minded. We agree on certain things as it relates to the children. Even sometimes when we talk about the children, somebody will show up. If I think I want a cup of tea, someone coming through that door, I say, go make me the tea. But the children after a while, they get to know us, and they would know what mommy or
Hmm.
dad can say. You understand? To the tune that we will not argue in the front of the children, for them to see displeasure or anything like that. And what amazed me too is even sometimes when you look at our girls, and even if you look at Charlie's, she say, "Boy, mommy, I hope I could find one husband or she could find a husband, and the example that we set in the front of them that they would mimic."
So,
Because they, and it's the testimony of the love, the respect that we have for each other,
wow,
you know.
wow, that's powerful. And can you share a little bit more about yourself? Because people need to hear this. There are persons maybe going through challenges in their marriage, because when there's a conflict, it's blown through the house. Everybody's involved with it. All of the children gets involved.
Hmm. Well,
How
we
would
always
his
say, boy, that
so
that
you can
that is a difficult fit because um, just as we took our vows and we said the two shall become one. We respect one another. If we have any argument, our doors shut. We have that between us. We do not take that to our children because that is not their business, and it
hmm
would never be to a degree where they would have to choose because sometimes even us we sometimes we joke with one another, say, "Well, Josie, who you think they'll believe, you or me?" Now they know I have very strong opinion. My husband is a little bit more quieter. you know they know I would act and say certain things a different way, and they would go to him. you know but the respect is there because sometimes if you in disagreement, when you lay on that bed and you have the children against daddy or the children against mommy, you don't know what they're thinking. So when you come together, they still carrying on that weight. And it's the same thing in family. When you
yes.
put one, there's an old proverb saying, so what you give to the world, you can't take back. Because when you and your husband forgive one another, your sister, your mother, brother, or the children still remembering and looking at them cross-eyed. You understand?
Hmm.
And that will cause problems.
Yes.
You understand? So certain things you don't bring in the front of them if you think it's gonna cause a problem.
Mm.
You know what happens all too often, Dr. Marie? You have too many. You have too many people on Facebook with whatever happens. They just love Facebook to the degree that oh, I got a vitamin or an ice cream. They have to post that. So now there's some discord between you and your spouse. Oh, I didn't like what she said, and you put that on Facebook, and now that is out in the World Wide Web, and persons do that. And I mean, I'm a lurker. I'm a senior lurker, a professional lurker. You wouldn't get me to. Boy, it's very, very, very seldom you'll get me to communicate or to post anything. But I'm a lurker. I read and I see some little petty things that people put out. They get angry with whomever, and they have to post that. And now I get in their business because they post it, and that happens too often with couples. People don't
Mhm.
need to know everything. But that
Yes.
Facebook, that Facebook.
And it's so funny that you should say that because there's the reality show. So persons feel the more they can put out there about their family, the
Mhm.
popular they can become. But some of the things that are destroying the foundation of our marriage and family is the fact that husband comes home, slap his wife, children witness it, or mom comes home and she's calling him that no good dog, he did this and he did the next. How can we speak to these couples to not bring the children into anything? Because if children see you hitting their mother, that doesn't go down well, and it affects the family in the long run. So how can we help these families that shows the children everything
Well,
in their
that's
relationship?
uh,
We don't want the children to be affected. So how can we help them?
Well, if you do not want them to be affected, um, don't don't do anything that would create negativity to your children. But a lot of people, they just act on instinct. Some persons, they bring whatever has happened outside into the home, and like you mentioned, they come home and they right up in their wife's face, and don't care who's at home. If she have friends over, in addition to the children, he comes in and but you have to make a concerted effort, and you have to be intentional about not bringing these negativities or these negative attitudes, these negative concepts, and into your home. But the main thing is you have to be deliberate and really intentional in not
Mhm.
in preserving peace and tranquility, even even if it's just the appearance to to the world, and to your home.
Hmm.
and Dr. Maria, I'll just add to that because as I sat and I listened, I would go right back in the beginning during the courting phase of it, because there's a period of engagement. Before you get married, there's consultation with your pastor, your minister. Sometimes people go into these abusive relationships, and as an individual, especially a woman, you have to determine the type of man that you want, the type of mate that you're willing to spend the rest of your life. Because most times, when you find these abusive relationships goes on, more than likely that individual know the type of person that they involve themselves in, and when they have that opportunity to go out, sometimes people use they too teensy, like we say. They want the big house, they want the car, they want the money, and they willing to put up with anything with it. because more than likely, whether it's the male or the female, somebody was abusing something, somebody before that marriage took place. So sometimes people go into these relationships with their eyes open. They was being abused before that, but they think by this person decide they want to marry me, that it will make a difference. The same thing as when persons would cheat prior to the marriage, if whether it's two women fighting over the same man or vice versa, they go and just because the one who he decide to marry, they think I win because I get this man. He decide to make me his wife. But that doesn't stop him from seeing the other person. So they go into these relationship prior to. So it goes back to the beginning. If we
Mm-hmm.
avoid it from the beginning, then we're going to be traumatized with this incident and this abusive relationship through the marriage. Mind you, sometimes things might happen. If I speak from a medical perspective, ill health could cause certain persons to act in certain way. Mental health, depression, you go in thinking that things will be fine all the while, and then something happens along the way. That is totally different because maybe that person might have a breakdown that might cause them to act in such a manner because not every marriage started off that way. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to go back and you have to go back to the root, in my view.
Right. Wow. Wow. And that is so true because sometimes we don't unless they tell you that there is a mental issue involved. And then you go into that relationship thinking you're dealing with normalcy. So when you see that outburst or reaction, then it becomes a war because you trying to figure where it come from, and so that is so true, in respect to the mental side of it. A matter of fact, we've had Dr. Dims came in and she spoke on the mental issues in relationship. But there are also persons out there, Rosemary, who would have known that this person is abusive.
Hmm.
And I can speak from close experience, not myself, but with someone close to me, who was advised against a marriage. But because she had already spent her money to buy the wedding dress and prepare for the ceremony and everything, she didn't want to call it off. And I believe a lot of people go into relationship realizing that it's not working because we look at the clock ticking away, and we don't want to be left alone in the long run. So we say we put up with it. So there can be no emotional connection because from the break you are not connected. And these are the folks that will have a rough time. I'm going through a relationship because, like I tell people, you cannot change a man. You cannot change a woman. He is who he is, and she is who
Hmm.
she is, right? But then you can, if you find out you're not compatible, then it's best for you to both separate and go your way before you get into that relationship. Now, there are some people that would have gone into a relationship hoping for the best, didn't see any signs of problems until they got in. These are the people we want to maybe help speak into them about their situation because it's really hard. But I love what Bishop Eric started out with. You were willing to put up with him. You were patient enough, and meaning that he was not perfect. He had his flaws, but because you realize I took this vow and I'm going to make it work, you stuck with it. And it reminds me even of my relationship. One of the things we did, Bishop, when we got married, the very first thing we did when we got into our apartment, we knelt on the side of the bed and we prayed and we asked the Lord, keep us together. Do not let us fight. So sometimes we got to go the extra mile to make it work. And I believe that as we have been into relationship for a period of time, a long period like you, 41 years, uh, we tend to grow together. But as long as there are friction in the relationship, it cannot come together. It will always be like a wedge between. We would like to see our marriages come together. So in regards to be in the relationship, and there can be no emotional connection, what would you say to people who want to be connected but don't know how to connect emotionally? Because all they've known is, row, 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 because we can't talk to each other. What are some of the advice would you give to these people to help them to come together? And while you're thinking about that, let me just relationship in marriage are brought to you by Love Bay Afrobeat Radio Talk Show, and we are happy to be coming to you every Sunday afternoon from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So we're happy. Our topic for the afternoon is thinking together, an expression of love, and we invite you to um, call in, send your question in, and join in the conversation. Give us your thoughts on how persons can think together and show that expression of love. Also happy now to have Dr. Alvin Hepburn. He's on with us. So we're going to allow you to um, answer that question, and then Dr. Alvin will say hello to you.
Dr. Maria,
What was
question.
the question?
Okay, what would you say? What advice would you give to those persons that are disconnected, not emotionally connected, but would like to be connected? How would you approach them in becoming connected rather than confusion and row all the time? What can they do?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Um, Dr. Marie, what has happened? And I am I'm almost certain that it wouldn't happen with every couple, but for us, and you have to have a negative and a positive. Um, so if my wife loves a good debate and she loves to um, challenge with whatever topic or conversation with me. And as I mentioned, I am almost certain it doesn't, but it can um, happen with other people. Just be willing, and it's going to take some effort. Well, it doesn't take effort for me because it's my nature to just allow her to voice her opinion, and and then it goes on. But for persons, if you have somebody she would like to talk and you would like to talk, then you get that friction, that back and forth, and she say one thing, you say something else. See, but you have to be, as I mentioned earlier, intentional and deliberate in trying to become that peacemaker, that calm voice, that you know, the non-combative. It's not going to always be easy. Matter of fact, it's never going to be easy. But you have to be intentional about it, and really, because truth be told, you have an opinion, I have an opinion, but we don't need to voice our opinions back and forth. That creates friction, and ill feeling. Some things might be said, and when words are already out there, you can't take them back. Don't care how much you flowers you buy and how much chocolate and sorry, and no, you something spoken out of the mouth came from the heart.
And that is so just to add
Wow.
to what
So it's
what
bad
you
to upset the same.
yeah. And just to add to that, sometimes if we have I call it I don't call it argument, I call it a passionate discussion. Uh,
Aha.
yeah, discussion. And sometimes if we don't see he have his opinion, I have my opinion, and the funniest part is sometimes we saying the same thing, but we saying
In a
it
different
different.
way.
So if I get frustrated, I just gonna shut up. I ain't gonna talk. That's me. I finished with it. And I said, Joseph, I finished with that. And he go quiet and he won't even answer me. And then after a while, things roll over. Then we come back and say, and then we start to laugh sometimes because I said, Josie, all we doing is saying the same thing, different way. So when he went up the last word, I said, okay, you have the last word. I ain't saying nothing. Then I come back. And that's how we let it go. But it would never be to the point because you don't want, just like you say, I respect him. I love him. So I don't want never say anything to lose the relationship that we have to say something that you may not it comes out, you might think it comes out, and then it's perceived in a different manner, because that's the one thing I don't want. Because like I always tell him, when the children leave, it's just me and him, and it's our relationship with one another, because we got to live with it. So I don't never want to disrespect him, and that's what we always maintain. We don't want to disrespect one another. So if I go quiet, it might take me a whole day. You know what I mean? It might take me a whole day. But when night coming, you should see us there trying to, pinch up and touch one another foot and thing,
Make
come back together. you know. Josie, you want something to eat?
Yeah.
You want one chocolate? You know what I mean? But if we don't never want to be to the tune that we disrespect one another, somebody gonna go quiet. And when we go quiet, that's the end of that. So he say, but why if you ain't answering me? I say, man, I ain't into you. I'm not answering you. Man. I can talk to you later. You know. So so that's how we try to deal with things. But then when you have family come like that, if they find a good mentor, and especially if you're married, you always find that person. Don't find that unmarried couple. That person who might give you the wrong advice. You understand? Go to your church. Go to church. Find your pastor, the one who bring you together, and you should be able to counsel with them or find that good mentor. Mind you, not discontinued friends. Because sometimes you have some good friends who mean you well, but you find that person who you know that you could confide in. Find that person who would not have your business on the street, but would give you good advice. Yes.
very
Because I
good.
only wanted to
Dr.
add
Alvin.
that I remember in the beginning of our marriage, it wasn't always easy. It wasn't that first year, man, I used to go to the bishop. I used to call Josie Daddy. Child and bishop would come, because we wasn't saved in the beginning of our marriage. But when Josie got saved, I know he was saved. I
Wow.
didn't even believe it. I tapping him up and doing all kind of things. You understand? But when he got saved, God came and he changed his life. But the
Wow.
one person who we went to, my mother, you go to the bishop, go right up on the hill, and child bishop would come. Oh, bishop would come.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop would come now and straighten them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Dr. Alvin.
Oh, powerful, powerful man. I am so sorry for coming in late. I have missed a treat.
Yes, you
Amen.
did.
Amen. Yeah, yeah. Powerful, powerful thought I've heard so far. Powerful things, and nuggets that we can use to better our relationship moving forward. And I like something that Brother Josie said, was that there's always a positive and a negative, and and I like that. But I want our listening audience to know that do not take that in a negative way, um because he explained it and then I fully understood. If my wife talking, I go quiet. That's the positive and the negative.
Yeah.
If I'm talking, she goes quiet. It is not uh both of us talking the same time. And that is so important in a relationship, that you have to. It is my job as Tanya's husband to protect her feelings and to protect her. And then it is her job to protect my feelings and to protect me. So if we are looking at it that way, and that's what Mother Josey said too, when she talked about how she's looking out for him, he's looking out for her. That's how it has to be. That respect for each other. And once that respect for each other is there, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. So Doc, powerful, powerful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I love the fact that um, you know they are sharing from their experience. One of
Yes.
the I remember uh, when we cannot talk together, when we cannot share. You said it too, Dr. Alvin. You would be quiet, your wife would talk, and vice versa.
Hmm.
Um, there are times I remember my sister, very quick tempered, and she would move out of her house every week. When her husband get her angry, she move out every week. We look back at it now, we can only laugh. And it reached a point that my mom got tired of it. Because when she moved, she didn't only move alone, she moved everything of the house, the furniture, everything. She moved everything. And my
What?
mom said, listen, enough of this. You go back to your husband. So we
Yeah.
have persons when you cannot conversate. A conversation is you talk, I listen. And that is what brings harmony, because then you can think. But if you're talking, you're shouting above to get your point across, and likewise, you will always have conflict.
Hmm.
But so one of the things that causes the couple to become alike and thinking alike is when they have that deep conversation.
Hmm.
They can always conversate with each other and always, share together. So eventually they begin to look and talk about it. So, your take on it, Dr. Alvin.
Yeah, that is so true, Doc. That if in relationship you get out of it what you put in. If you put in nothing, you get out nothing.
Yes.
And like I even shared in church today, that you have to go for the whole hog. You got to be all in or all out. and
Yes.
and and that would makes a beautiful marriage, when a husband comes with 100% of himself and a wife comes with 100% of herself. Because in God's economy, 100 plus 100 equals 100. So if
Yes.
you give your 100, I give my 100, then the marriage is 100. And like we always do, Dr. Maria, right there is a good place to say what Dr. Miles Monroe say.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Mm-hmm.
remind our listeners, Dr.
Yes.
Monroe reminds us that marriage is a perfect thing. It's a good idea because it's a God idea. However, it is entered into by two imperfect beings,
Yes.
and there will be trouble, there will be chaos, there will be a disagreement. We could disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable.
Mm.
We can disagree on an issue, and I listen to both Josie's talk, and Mother Josie said something that they were just talking the same thing but just saying it different. And it was when they stepped away and came back and have the conversation again, they realized we saying the same thing.
Yes.
And that is so true with many persons. But if we just trying to one up you,
Mm.
then nothing will work. And when I do my marriage counseling, I always say to the couple, I say this to them: Brother Josie, I said, if you win an argument and your spouse lost, you're lost.
So yeah,
Mm.
yeah, the team lose.
It
Yes.
has to always be a win-win situation.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because if it's not a win-win, if you say, "Oh boy, yeah, I on top on this one," then the marriage is going to lose. The team
The,
is going to
the
lose.
team lose.
It got to always be win-win, and you got to fight it out. And when I say fight it out, I don't mean fist and fight. You have to discuss it out. You have to compromise it out until it is a win-win situation.
Mhm.
And what does that mean? I may not get everything I want. You may not get everything you want, but be satisfied with what we have because the marriage now benefits from it.
Yes.
And I saw this, Dr. Maria, for a time in my life growing up. I thought my parents favored different one of my siblings more than they favored me. Until I realized as an adult and looking back, I realized, boy, that's not true. Because when I thought my mother favored my sister, it was whenever she was sick, my mother went there and catered to her and do all of that type of stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm getting left out. But then when I was sick, mom was there to do the same for me. And that's how you have to look at marriage. Where I am weak, then you come in and you strengthen.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
that's how we work together. And that's how we
Mhm.
even could think together. And
Mhm.
and I would say this, um, it comes from those conversations.
Yes.
Like Tanya, my wife Tanya, she don't like she is an introvert. She don't like really to do anything out in public. If you give her a mic, she can shout a mic. So if we're at an event and somebody asks her to pray, mind you, my wife is a prayer warrior. At home, we can pray. When she starts to pray, we can pray. But on public, I know she is uncomfortable with that. So the minute they ask her to pray, I jump and I say, "Man, don't worry about that. I got this." Know why? Because I know the position it puts her in. And I don't want her feeling that way. And it's the same thing that she does for me. She she knows where Alvin doesn't want to do things, but she don't mind doing it. So she comes up to the forefront. And that's how it has to be. I'm looking out for her, and she's looking out for
Correct.
me.
Correct.
Powerful.
Correct.
That's powerful. Listen to this. You've said it, Dr. Alvin, that we are a team. And if
Mhm.
one lose, listen, we are competitive by nature.
Yes, we are.
People, we are competitive to lose. So can you imagine your relationship? You have a problem and you're willing to walk away from it. Not only your wife lose, the whole team lost.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I think we need to really look at that. It's not one person lose and both of you have lost. So that
And
is
dogs, it even goes deeper than that. If they
mhm,
have children,
Mhm.
double loss.
the ripple effect on your children, your grandchildren,
That's
your
right.
great grandchildren. How boy the doc. I counsel men in their 50s and 60s who who at that stage were still crying over the fact that when they was 10 there they watched their mother and father split up,
Wow.
Mm.
and now in their relationship with their wives or their husbands, they can't give 100% because in the back of their mind they're wondering
Yeah.
when you can leave me.
Oh
Yes.
wow.
Damaged. Yeah.
So
Yes.
so if that's what's in the back of your mind, and you and this man still have children, guess what your children can learn? And then your children will think that's normal, and that's
Mm,
how they then live.
yes.
And then they
Yes.
say that's why we got people in our society now refusing to get married
Yep. Yep.
because they don't know people like the Josies.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
So true. So true. You know, wow. I love this conversation. Um,
yeah.
when we think about couple thinking alike, or emphatic mimicry. Doesn't mean that we're saying you cannot think on your own, or he
Mm-hmm.
cannot think on their own. They still have their unique opinion based on what I'm hearing from the Joseys. They still have their unique opinions and experiences, but because they have grown together, because they have spent over 41 years together.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is experience here. They know how now to complement each other,
Uh-huh.
and even in conversation, I can imagine that even when they are apart, they can almost speak for one another. Like and this happened to me the other day. I was talking about an invitation, right? And the person was asking me whether my husband will come. I tell him he'll come out of because he care about me. He'll come because of that. But in reality, he really doesn't care to be there, right? That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the things that he like, right?
Yeah.
And you ask him, and the first thing you tell you, no, I'm not interested. So imagine you would have spent so many years together. You think alike, you
Uh-huh.
look alike, you almost walk alike, and there's a,
Yeah.
a coming together. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as we are running out of time, but not out of words, we're going to allow Dr. Alvin, maybe you want to have a say before, or and then we'll ask our guests to give our audience something that they can, use to help them to pull their relationship together,
Mm-hmm.
whereby they can think together, think alike, you know.
Yes. Doc, this topic is such
So,
a
Dr.
good
Alvin,
topic. Yes, this topic is such a good topic, and I like how you just explained it. Thinking together does not mean that we think alike. It just means that that our thinking is in tandem, which means they're parallel.
yes,
Um, because the way God made a man and the way God made woman, we will never think alike. I heard one preacher say, I said it this way: men think in straight lines, women think in curves.
yes, so true.
However, and what that means, my wife come ask me how was your day. It was good. I asked her how was her day. Well, I got up this morning with a headache, but I decided I can still go out. I went, and you wouldn't guess who I saw when I was coming out of the corner, and she
Hmm.
gonna go all around the bush. She going all around the curves, all around the curves, and boy, I gotta sit there and listen, and I just shaking my head. Yes, oh, that's what you saw today. And then one thing women like to say, guess who I saw? I'm like, there, there's 200,000 people that you could see here in Nassau. How, you want me to guess the one that you saw? You have to go with it.
Yes,
She's thinking that way. But this thinking together means that we still got the common goal. And even though I go in a straight line and you go on through curves, we end up at the same point.
Mhm.
And I think that's what Bishop and Mother Josie was talking about. We
Mm-hmm.
think together in the fact that you went through all of that and I went my way, but we came together and we accomplished what we set out to accomplish.
hmm,
And that's what makes a marriage powerful. That's what makes a marriage worth having because we are working together. And it's the same thing with when we look at God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, in the fact that the assignment is different. The way God works is different than the way Jesus worked, and is different than the way the Holy Spirit works, but they work in unison.
yeah,
That their thought process was this is where we got to get them, and that's what they did. They were one in their feelings, and that's what husband and wife needs to be, one in their motion.
wow, that's powerful.
Dr. Hepburn, Uh,
Mm.
um, at your conclusion, all you need to do now is pass the plate.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 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 you end up with a little preaching.
Oh, hallelujah. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Well, we're going to go for an additional 10 minutes before we wrap up. We've been given a little extra time. So we're going to allow our guests to share, um, just share, give our audience something that will help relationships. Uh, as you, whatever you think can be used right now, because a lot of people are going through different situations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, to
And
what
what
I
makes persons in their relation who are going through is when they hear it from someone else who's making it. You're making it, and you tell me I too can make it. So share something with our audience.
yeah what what I find that works for us is when I am concerned more about her feelings and her concerns than my own.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
remarkable.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what helps me,
Hmm.
to be balanced even with her.
Yeah.
Mm, very good.
And to add to that, I always say love. Love changes so many things.
Hmm.
And love is what brought us together.
Hmm.
And I never wish to disrespect my husband. So even I'm careful, even if there are times that you would be angry and words might come to your mouth, and I'll say, well, no, then I gotta hold that because I don't never want to disrespect my husband or to embarrass him in the front of anybody or my
That's right.
children. So I always keep that in thought. You know, yes, there are times when we will disagree and we will have a discussion, like I say, and we know one another well enough to know that when I go quiet, he can be quiet and he can do everything to try to me. Sometimes I just laugh, and me as woman, you just want to extend that, right? You want to play difficult. That time you don't forget about that long time, you know. But once you remember what brought you together, and,
Hmm.
and then we are content with one another. Sometimes I laugh because when we say, and the two shall become one, we share everything together, right down to a plate of food. Even if we can afford to buy two food, we so used to it. We buy the children, everybody get their own food, and we them still sharing food.
Oh, Lord.
We try to do everything together, and that's in our finance. Um, with the children, if we come to agreement, then we would not stray from that. We on one accord. Tell even the children get to know us.
Awesome.
With that, so we don't stray from that, and we want to be an example to them because we can't say one thing in church and then we live a different life.
Yeah.
We want to be an example, and we even see that in our grandchildren and all. They
Mhm.
see that in us, and they want to emulate us, and that is good to hear.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
that
powerful.
is good, that is good to hear.
Yes.
But we love, honor, obey, respect, and we always have that open communication
I
Hmm.
love
with
that.
each other.
Love, honor, obey, respect.
Mhm.
If
Yes,
you have
powerful.
those in your marriage, Dr. Alvin, you are just
You can't go wrong.
I want Bishop Eric to speak to our male in our audience that are listening to us today. Because, and maybe Dr. Alvin, you can pitch in, but oftentimes the man feels because I'm head of the home, I can talk to my wife as I wish, I can do as I wish, I can act as I wish, and all of this causes conflict. Tell me or tell us what is the strong point for our men when you talk about being the head of the home?
Bishop,
Well,
you want to go? Go
I
on, Bishop.
I can, but I'll be brief, um, because my thought would come, um, from the fact that God is the head, the creator. Um, not only the creator, he is omnipotent, uh, but he still condescends to us, humankind, to the degree that he came, born of a woman, and offered himself on the cross because he is concerned about us. And that's where, if your concern is for your spouse, you would come down from whatever high horse or whatever elevated place you. It has always concerned me when because you see it happening, and you hear of it happening. Where I'm the head of um in the marriage. I don't think there is the head of. Not we're not contradicting the Bible that the husband is the head. We're not contradicting that, but my thought is I am equal with my wife. She is human. She has thoughts. She has concerns. She has feelings. That that has been my philosophy, and it has helped me. It has worked for me.
Excellent, excellent. And Doc, I would want to add this, uh, piggybacking of Bishop, is the Bible says it so clearly that my wife is me.
Yes.
So why would I want to talk to myself bad?
Hmm.
Mm,
Why would I want to beat myself up?
yes.
Why would I want to treat myself as a second class citizen? So
Wow.
when I look at Tanya, I'm looking at me. And I have yet to have ever gone in a mirror and cursed Alvin out. I have yet to have ever gone in a mirror and slapped myself out.
All
Those
right.
people who do that to themselves, we take them down to here in the Bahamas to Sandilands, and we say that those are the crazy folk. So I say to those listening to us here in the Bahamas and all around the world, is that if you don't see your spouse, if you don't see your wife as you, then you ain't seeing right.
Wow. Wow.
And when
Oh,
you see
Wow.
your wife as you, treat you like you would treat you.
you.
Mhm.
Because Alvin is all of that, and Alvin should have the best.
Mm,
And so should Tanya.
yes.
Tanya is all of that, and Tanya should have the best. And
Awesome.
it may not be the best according to anybody else standard,
No.
but it's the best according to us.
Hmm.
There you go.
And once Tanya and Alvin are on the same page, we will work together and live in harmony. And that's what it is, though. That many people, and we talked about it last week. Many people are looking at across the street at somebody else green grass, and they wonder,
Mm,
well, how come my grass ain't green? Well, if you continue to look across the street, you will see that the man getting up early in the morning, watering that grass, he cutting that grass, he hedging that grass, he waking to make that green.
oh
And if
yeah.
you do the same thing that he is doing with
To your
yours,
wife. Hey,
yours will eventually become like his.
Yes.
I
Amen.
love that. Powerful. Powerful but true. I love that. And that's what we have to looking at the green grass on the other side and start creating your own green grass. So
Yes.
um, I love this conversation, and we can almost park right here, but we
Okay.
must save some for next week because
Yes.
there are some folks who really want to know how they can now become like this couple that we have here, thinking alike, and doing things alike. And when she's angry, he stays calm, and when she's
Uh-huh.
angry, when she stays calm, vice versa. Because if we
Yes.
both are angry together, And this is an advice I took from my grandmother before she died. She said, never both of you be angry at the same time. And listen, I practice that because if he's at a 10, you can bet your dollar I go into five. Because we're not going to stay at a 10 together. That's almost like a tsunami. You understand? So
That's a tsunami, a earthquake, a thunderstorm, all
Volcano.
in one. A volcano eruption, all in one.
eruption. Yes. So we have to learn to back down when one is at a certain, because we don't know what
Yes.
caused them to hit that 10, but we're going to save some for next week. So we wish to thank our guests, Bishop Eric and Rosemarie Josey, for being on our show this afternoon. And we also wish to thank our listening audience that are out there. Love each other. Let us go in this relationship to win it and become a great team so that nothing can separate this team. We will all win. Like you say, Dr. Alvin, a win-win situation.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
wish to say thanks to our listening audience. You're listening to Love Bay Radio, and we are so happy to be with you again. So we'll see you next week.
Bye
Have a
bye
good
for now.
Thank you.
bye. Thank you.